Welcome back to Truth Moment. I'm your host, Tierra Pritchett. I'm laughing at your face. When something is submerged in the fire, then its shape can shift. Yeah, it can shift. Welcome back to Truth Moment. I'm your host, Tierra Pritchett. I'm just going to cut right to the chase. There's no need to sit here and ignore the elephant in the room. And I think everyone knows what the elephant is. It's the whole Black Lives Matter campaign. Because either people are talking about it in excess or people are choosing not to talk about it at all. So I said, what better way than to have a guest on my show to where we can discuss this platform. And so my next guest, he exemplifies why Black Lives Matters. After all, he has won numerous accolades. He is a former Mercer football player, recent graduate. He's a brother, a son, and he's an artist too. We're gonna talk a little bit more about that, but most importantly, he's a Black man. And Caleb, he fits a stereotype because he played football, so he's a big guy. He could be intimidating, but I'm telling you, when you guys hear the list of accolades that this young man has and his talent that is placed on the wall behind me, you will see why he was the perfect choice in this. So without further ado, Truth Moment audience, please help me welcome Mr. Caleb Brown. Caleb, welcome to Truth Moment.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. So, Caleb, who is Caleb Brown?
Caleb Brown, like you said, he's an artist, he's a former athlete, he's intelligent, and I would say my most defining characteristic is probably my work ethic.
Okay. You and I were talking about the art, and you said you actually haven't even been doing art that long. So, when did you get started and how?
As far as the painting is concerned, yeah, I've been painting for about a year and a half now.
Okay.
I've always been able to draw a little bit, so I've always had some artistic ability. I was minoring in art at Mercer and ended up having to take a painting class. I hated it. I was so angry that I had to take that class, but it was a requirement. So I was in there, kind of made it through the semester. It wasn't until even the last week of the semester that I completed a painting that I really loved and enjoyed, and still took a break. And then something got me back going around November, and I've been painting ever since.
Okay, so what would you say is your favorite piece that you've painted?
My favorite piece that I've painted is the Malcolm X painting behind us.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's definitely my favorite.
Why?
My business is called Fanale Enterprises. Fanale stands for Failure is Not an Option. And when we were a couple of friends of mine, we just kind of made a group, kind of our little clique, and we called it Fanale. Well, we got some T-shirts made, and on the T-shirts were Malcolm X because my sister thought the idea of by any means would fit into our mantra. Mm-hmm. And so ever since then, Malcolm X has held a special place in my heart and my mission for life. So I thought it was very important that I created a good painting of him, and it just so happens to be one of the best ones.
And I think that is another reason why you were a great candidate for this episode, Caleb, is because people have this often misperception of Malcolm X and who he was and what he represents. And so it's so fitting in this whole Black Lives Matter platform that Malcolm X would be, one of your favorite paintings that you've done because, he can be thought of as quite extreme. Would you say that you yourself are radical or extreme?
Yeah, you could probably put me more on the radical side than the conservative side for sure. Again, I don't condone the violence that's been extended towards white Americans or police officers, but I do believe in the power of radical behaviors. I'm not a fan of just sitting back and letting stuff. I guess the Bible teaches to turn the other cheek. I love God, God love me, but sometimes you gotta put in some work in some way. I'm not saying you gotta hit him back, but you gotta do some work that prevents you from getting hit again, if that makes sense. So I'm not saying you necessarily have to hit the person back, but I don't think you should just get hit and just let that be the end of it, if that makes any sense.
Okay. And so some of the awards that Caleb has won, the Mercerin,
it is the Mercerin Award for campus involvement.
Exactly. So campus involvement, and then you've won the Bear Award, which is also for your campus involvement. And so, and you told me you've won a lot of these awards multiple times. So for someone to be so radical, but yet win these awards, and you told me it was difficult for you to win them as well. How is that?
See, when at the school I'm at, for me to have, I guess, radical views, you know, sometimes in my school I go to a predominantly white institution.
Yeah, absolutely.
And being a black male there, I'm not saying like everywhere it's just racist or it's a bad racial climate. It's just different.
Yeah.
It just is. It's just a different experience being the minority in that school like that. So a lot of times they might expect you to act a certain way, but where I'm come from, I'm just not cut that way. So I think what allowed me to be successful there is that I put in the work. So although I might not share the same views as the people in charge, I put in the work. So that when you have two resumes to look at, you can't deny Caleb, even if you don't like what he's talking about. I have some good relationships with people, so it's not all just me versus Mercer. But at the same time, they can't deny the work that I put in.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. And so with everything going on in our country right now, I saw that you actually participated in the protests in Atlanta. Let me ask you, Caleb, because I really want to get to the meat of this conversation. Why Black Lives Matter? What's the point of protesting? What does protesting do? I've heard so many people say, well, why protest? It's not going to change anything. There's still going to be these issues after you go back home or you go back to your cars. So why did Caleb Brown protest that day?
That's a great point. There's so many protests going on, and a lot of people that would go to a protest and then go home and forget the whole reason they went and protest. So I think for me, to protest was to show other people that we are here, that there are people who do care. I think that's probably the most important part of protesting, that when you go, you see that, you know what, we're not necessarily alone. It's a lot of people out here that want to see change. So then I guess with that, it inspires you or gives you the hope that there is change that's possible. Most people are right. Protests in themselves, you know, they might not have as much effectiveness because, again, most police ain't just attacking us no more, so it ain't the same methodology of the old days where we go out there and see if we can't get the police riled up and do something crazy that President Kennedy can talk about. So I think it's more just to show unity within our cause, and then people can get more inspired to go out and do things.
Why now? Why do Black Lives Matter now?
Because I guess for a while, we thought our lives did matter. And then in the last couple of years, it's almost like we went into a time machine in many aspects. It's like certain things that I guess you have gotten numb to. You're like, oh no, racism, you know, that's so 1960s. Ain't nobody racist no more. But in the South, most of us that grew up in the South, again, we might not see lynchings or crazy stuff like that going on no more, but there's still implicit racism everywhere, where people look at you funny just because you walk in their store because they ain't used to seeing you. People up north might not notice that, but we know it down here all too well. So now it matters because it had a couple of situations that came up. Social media was a very powerful factor in that. Camera phones, iPhones. So now you got some of those little issues that we had kind of just brushed under the rug. Like, well, it wasn't that bad. But now you can't deny it. We got proof of foolishness on both parties. Like, I ain't gonna say it's all white people or it's all policemen. We all gotta do some work. But now it's all on camera that we need more work than what we thought. And I guess the Black Lives Matter thing is so pertinent now because it's just a disparity in the way that people perceive our race and how they judge character. And it's gotta be solely on, this certain aspect just has to be based on what he looked like. Because there's no way that you can make certain assumptions about a person without knowing a person. How can you say a person was a thug but you don't know?
Absolutely. I think that's a really good point because, and how old are you again?
I'm 21.
21 years old, and I wanted to have a younger person's perspective because, you know, a lot of times people in your generation feel that, you know, racism, like you said, is very old. It's taboo to even say the word that someone is racist. So a young black male who in many ways fits a stereotype. And why Caleb is important to be on this episode is because just like the men who lost their lives, Caleb has a backstory. They had a backstory. There's so many things that Caleb wants to do in his life, and he's going to talk more about that those men will never be able to. So if you were to see Caleb walking into a store with a hoodie on, take time to, and in that instance, you won't get an opportunity to say, hi, how are you, what's your name? But take time to just even think, okay, why am I automatically trying to assess this person if they're a thug? Trying to assess them if they're up to no good or if they're going to mean me harm or score harm. He can have a hood on because that's his style. He can have on big or baggy clothes because that's what he chooses to wear or that's what's comfortable to him. It's not that he's going out looking for trouble. And a lot of people have to step outside of their comfort zones and realize that it's a problem. If you can sit there and say, now I don't think it's a problem, those people were asking for it, but you don't know. You don't know how many awards those people might have, you know, won or hadn't had the opportunity to win or never will have the opportunity to win because their lives were taken. How did it affect you when we had those two deaths happen back to back like that?
It was unbelievable. Like, I guess the audacity of this, like the people involved, like you have to know that the Alton Sterling situation happened. So for the following day, for Philando to get killed, I was like, dude, you didn't see the news and see the backlash that like you couldn't have been a little more vigilant or a little more diligent in what you were doing. Like it's right there. They like it's crazy people out there who want the heads of cops. You don't want to be on that same level, yet you were irresponsible in what you were doing.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because now you have such a heightened state of just tension.
Yeah.
And some of it's really unnecessary because I have plenty of white friends. I'm not a racist. I may be radical, I'm not a racist. It's hard because now they might, man, you know, I don't know if Caleb liked me no more because he had that Black Lives Matter protest. I did have a friend hit me up and he wanted to know we had a long conversation. He's one of my white friends, kind of a southern country kind of guy. I don't know if he's been around a lot of black people, but he honestly asked me, he said, Caleb, you're a smart dude, and I know you personally. So he knows I'm a good guy. So he's like, so I know you very well. I saw you went to the protest. Can you tell me what it's about? Because sometimes I don't want to make an assumption about the movement, but the media can portray it one way.
Absolutely.
When I know you're a smart dude, I know you're not what they're saying on TV. And we had such a conversation. I felt really good about that because there's hope. Because there are certain people who really want to know, like, that can't be right. Like, they're protesting for change. Like, I don't see how these people could want harm. And I explained to them, I'm like, yes, it's just a matter of understanding. I think sensitivity on all parts, from black people and white people. We all got to do some work. I think that's the most important part of it all.
What does work look like, Caleb?
Work? It's really like cultural sensitivity. I think it's important that, see, a lot of times when an African American person goes to a white institution, maybe, we're expected to act a certain way, and that's fine. You know, I feel like the standards are just based on, that's not the same standards I grew up with sometimes.
Absolutely.
So I think it's important that we somehow blur the lines, like we somehow culturally come a little unified, because some white people just genuinely don't understand us, and sometimes we just don't understand white people. And I'm there, like I gotta do some work, because sometimes if they walking down the street, we make assumptions too, and I gotta work on myself because I gotta, you know what? That's just what he likes to wear. That's his style of music. That's just what he do. And I'm not ashamed to admit that fault. I think the issue lies and that there are so many people on the other side of the Black Lives Matter movement who won't admit that we all need to do some work.
Absolutely.
I think they're too busy blaming people. I think that's the very core of our movement, especially to me. Me personally, I think that's the issue, is that, you know, like sometimes they throw black on black crime. Black people will admit, yeah, that's a problem. We gotta work on it. But as soon as we say, hey, these cops getting a little out of line, we ain't saying all y'all bad, but y'all getting a lot out of line, then everybody gets defensive. Everybody loses their mind because we came at the establishment.
Yeah.
And I think that's the issue, is the humility to know that, you know what, maybe we do need to hold the cops a little more accountable. Not saying everybody bad, but we just gotta step it up.
Right.
And I think that's the issue right now, is that is humility, too much pride to admit, I guess, fault, or that our lives in fact do matter.
Are you uncomfortable if you're driving and you see a police officer pull up behind you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, Lord.
Driving while black is a real thing.
First off, let's go and knock the very first reason I'm probably nervous. I'm thinking, Lord, I don't want to pay for this ticket. Secondly, if he get out the car and he's a white cop, and I'm just like, oh God. I'm like, please, like, don't let me do nothing stupid. Don't let one of my homeboys in the car have something we ain't supposed to. I'm like, don't let this be how Caleb Brown go out. I don't want to go out like this.
Yeah.
Again, I ain't gonna sit there and act like it doesn't happen. That's just what we think sometimes. It's scary. It's just the culture that we've been in.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh my God.
It's really happening.
Yeah, like, I know he gonna roll down and pull out his gun and shoot me, but at the same time, you're like, Caleb, you better move right. Hey officer, what do you need? Like, I don't have anything on me. I don't have a gun. I don't have anything on me. I'm gonna reach and get my registration out of the glove compartment.
Yeah.
So that's a real thing, unfortunately.
Are you afraid to one day raise a black son in this culture if things don't change?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely who wouldn't be? The world is scary enough.
Yeah.
So it's even crazier now. It's like, to have an African American son, he's more susceptible to some of that foolishness that I'm already scared of if we didn't live here.
Yeah.
Like I said, you got so much evil around the world, and now my son is more susceptible to it simply because he looks a certain way. So yes, it's definitely scary.
So what I want you to do is describe for us, and Truth Moment audience, in no way is my guest saying that he is the spokesperson for Black Lives Matter. In no way is he saying that he's an expert or an extreme panelist, but he's a black man and his life matters. So he's talking about how Caleb Brown feels about these issues and how they affect Caleb Brown. So Caleb, how can someone be radical and not be racist? I think because a lot of times if we were to post on our social media, you know, the cops are getting out of hand, something has to be done, Black Lives Matter, people on the other side of the spectrum automatically, so you got an issue with white people. You know, so how can one be radical and not be racist?
I think what's important is that, to me personally, I feel like being a radical versus somebody who's conservative is the amount of work that you put in and the amount of, I guess, fear that you have as somebody that's more on the radical side. I'm not as afraid to tell someone, you know, I don't think what's going on in America is good. Whereas a lot of conservative people may not say nothing at all just so they don't have to ruffle feathers. Again, I'm not calling for complete separation. You know, I'm not the type of person to say we need to keep blacks and whites separate. I'm really on the end of, I feel like we need to unify cultures because I feel like everybody has something to offer everyone. And I think the difference between being a conservative and being a radical is being able to say that that's wrong, I don't like it, then I want something different. As opposed to somebody who might, you know, it is what it is. Somebody saying it is what it is versus taking action. I think that's more where I'm at on that whole spectrum.
Okay, and you know, you have a life, like I mentioned previously, you have a life ahead of you. And what does Caleb want to do? You mentioned some of it, you have your own business now. So you paint. How does painting help Caleb stayed at even kilter with everything that's going on in his life?
Being able to create something beautiful is so fulfilling. It's a lot of hard work because the Rihanna painting, for example, probably the longest I've ever taken on a painting. It took me 11 hours in one sitting. I only do paintings in one sitting. I don't come back to them. I took a little lunch break in between. It was so much hard work, but around hour 7, even a little sooner, you begin to see the fruits of your labor. It's such a fulfilling experience when you finally finish. I did it. I worked my butt off and I did something truly great. I completed a goal. I remember that painting, I was like, this is gonna be one of my best paintings. I said it to myself, and to be able to fulfill that affirmation is like, it's a feeling indescribable. So it does it for me. It makes me happy when I can create a nice painting.
What else do you want to do with your paintings? Like, do you just paint for fun or to give you a sense of clarity?
So me right now, painting is as simply as, it's just, I enjoy doing it. And I want my mission, I want my painting, and I guess my journey as a businessman to be an inspiration to other creative people. I believe that is where my mission comes in, is because through my life, even me, and some of the people I've been associated with, there have been so many people who wanted to try and do other things. They want to be an artist, a singer, an athlete, like a professional athlete, and fear consumed them. They were scared, it might not make it, I might fail, there's no money in art. Part of my mission is showing people that you can go to the stratosphere and above doing what you love. There's work. You gotta put in the work, and you gotta put away those fears. You can't be scared to talk, you can't be scared to tell people about yourself. I believe that there's a way to be successful whatever it is you want to do in life. And that's a part of my mission, is trying to build a sphere of influence so that the more I can get plugged in with more famous people, people can see, well, if Caleb did, I can do it too.
Right. And then you want to make a living too. Like we talked about, you said, I want to be a famous artist.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to wait till after and people,
it's something particularly weird about the art industry in particular. A lot of artists, they just don't, they're not cool with the business side of it. They really want to paint and get discovered, and when they die, they paint and sell for millions of dollars. I'm not with that.
People want you to sell for $1 million in heaven.
Yeah, I want heaven here and in heaven. I want to live it up. And so I'm not scared to say that. Yeah. And a part of that, you build influence. Like, I want to be shy about it. If I become famous, more people listen to me. I'm not saying I just enjoy I ain't gonna say like I'm vain enough to just say I just love the crowd. I play in front of plenty of big crowds.
Right.
I think it's most important is that.
So your art is getting quite a buzz. How does that feel?
Oh, I love it. Now I know I said I like the sphere of influence, but hey, I like being on the news. I enjoy it. I used to be on like football too, so for it never stopped. Like as soon as football ended, I got people asking me to be on the news, do this, paint this, come perform in my church. It's amazing. And to meet some of the people I've met, it's almost like a dream come true. Like I met some of my idols already, and I was like, this is unbelievable. Like I not just started.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for 6 months, and I've already met 50% of the people I want to meet in the world. I've contacted and spoken to 50% of the people who are living that I want to know. And I'm like, and we just getting started.
Yeah, because this is your purpose. Here it is, something that you didn't even know you wanted to do. God is so funny in that way. With Truth Moment, I didn't have any plans on this. I just wanted to be a therapist and mother my children and, be married, and now I have a television show. Mm-hmm. So, and you were in your class and, didn't want to paint, and now your paintings are touching people and they're helping people. And I think that they're actually providing a healing for you too, a healing mechanism and a way for you to get things off of your chest. So to add it to your resume, would you mind painting one truth moment?
I think I can handle something for you.
You think you can handle that? Okay, I appreciate that. I'm gonna let Caleb paint right now and do his thing. So we're gonna get ready to transition into that truth moment audience so you guys can see it. And yeah, so without further ado, Caleb, do your thing. Let's go.
I got you.
All right.
We are living in the days where we have to say that Black Lives Matter. To my son and daughter, I work to instill that their lives matter, and to shoot down any argument that all lives matter. Because the latter usually comes from those with no experience in the matter. And when they come to me with a why, I can't hide behind the lies. That to some, your skin color doesn't matter first, is a white lie. Every night, I pray to God and thank Him for another day. With everything today, it could have ended in another way. I pray for a son who's still way too young. He doesn't, and he shouldn't have to understand what it takes to be a man, a black man, and the stereotypes that can hinder every plan, every dream that he dreams one day, doing what he believes he can. His youthful ignorance is bliss, and it hurts hiding pain like this. I don't want to tell him too much to create fear in this. He needs to live without worry, enjoy being a boy and not grow up in a hurry. From wondering if his daddy's ever coming home, or in his heart he knows that daddy's really gone. He's gotta know, which means I gotta be here to teach him. So can I live so the system can't reach him? Can I live? 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 I ain't perfect. Lord knows I'll make mistakes. That's one of life's flaws. If I ever go too far and happen to break the law, hope I'm given a chance, not being judged at first glance. It feels like being black is your warning. All treatment is justified and comes with scorning. I shouldn't ask God to protect me and preserve from those who should protect me and serve. Do I deserve force when a cop loses nerve? While I'm thinking clear, I still look at you with nothing but fear. I know I shouldn't let my mind wander, but it's hard not to wonder that even if I survive, I'm put in a place underprivileged because of my race. While white privilege takes over a case, I embrace knowing that the punishment won't be light. They see us as the poster child for crime, and it ain't. Can I live? Can I live? Can I live? Can I live?
Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard the incredible sounds of Quintessential and have viewed the amazing talent known as Caleb Brown. Two black men whose lives more than matter but should be protected. Question to ask yourself, is it because it's called Black Lives Matter that it offends you? How would you feel if it were called Black Lives Should Be Equally as Important? I'm Tiara Pritchett. That's my truth. What's yours?